Right, so we set the train up, and as you can see, we've got quite a lot of terrain set up on this 12 foot by 5 foot board. We're going to be playing along the long edges against each other, and basically the board is set up into 3 different sections. So this first section here is woodland with 1 building, which is a chaos temple there. So that's going to be one of the objectives. And the second objective is a hill over there, and you see the objective in the top. I'll just pan along, and the second zone is sort of hills and rocky outcrops. Again, 2 objectives, so there's 1 objective to capture the commanding hill there, and the other objective, I don't think you can see it quite from here, oh you can, is in that central thing of rocky outcrops over there. And the final zone is a destroyed city. So awful lot of battlefield in the box terrain on this one, and again 2 objectives. So we have 1 in this sort of ruined temple building over here, and finally another objective in this rather wonderful building there.
So, starting off with the Dark Angels army, it is quite fluff driven. So we have a green wing contingent, which basically consists of 6 tactical squads here. So as you can see, there are 4 tactical squads, all with a dedicated rhino supporting them. We've then got 1 tactical squad, which is in a drop pod, and then we've got 1 poor squad that hopefully doesn't have to walk too far in this because they don't have any dedicated transport whatsoever. We then have a lot of heavy support. The heavy support is coming in the form of 3 Devastator squads, 1 armed with rockets, 1 armed with plasma cannons, and 1 armed with las cannons. There's a couple of dedicated las cannon Razorbacks going with that as well. And then moving along, we've got a Vindicator, a Whirlwind multiple rocket launcher, I think that's what they call them, and then 2 las cannon Predators as well. From an elites slot section for the green wing, we have a squad of vets which I'm proxying today. So basically, if the vets are carrying a melter gun, it's what you see is what you get. If they're not, then they're basically in combi melters. And they've got Ezekiel leading them, and they're in the drop pod. And then we've then got a command squad. Again, I'm proxying with plasma guns, and they're being held up with led by Azrael. And then we've also got the Dark Angel chapter banner, giving everyone +1 attack there. Then moving over to my Deathwing. So Deathwing is headed up by my version of Belial, which just comes from the Deathwing pack, and a command squad which has got the Deathwing chapter banner, or Deathwing banner, I guess it's called. And then effectively what we have is a dreadnought in a drop pod. Bless you. We then have a total of 3 shooty Terminator squads with Cyclone or Assault Cannon, so they're all with Storm Bolters. We've then got 1 Thunderhammer and Storm Shield squad, and then we've got a squad of, I forgot what they're called now, Deathwing Knights, and they're going to be in what is going to be a las cannoned Land Raider as opposed to the Crusader variant that you see here. We've then got a Raven Wing contingent. The Raven Wing contingent is being led by Samael. He also then has a command squad which also has a librarian, so I'm proxying this chap here as a mastery level 2 librarian, and that then effectively gives us a load of Deathwing, Raven Wing Black Knights I should say, in that command squad. And then effectively then what we have are 3 full Raven Wing bite squads. 2 of them are supported with attack bikes. All of them are using speeders with the Typhoon missile, I think it is. So I'm proxying with one of them. I've then got the very fluffy and to date really useless land speeder Vengeance, I think that's called, with the plasma plasma storm battery. Dies every time I seem to use it without firing a shot. I've then got a Space Marine. I'm playing it as a Space Marine Storm Talon, and then I've then got the Nephilim Jet Fighter. Again, lovely looking model. Hasn't done much for me to date. I then have 2 Imperial Knights. These guys, I've painted them in House Hawkshroud colours, and the principle behind these is that they're oathsworn to Dark Angels. So I wanted to sort of keep, I wanted to keep into the fluff with these guys. Absolutely love painting these models. An awful lot of fun. I've got one Paladin with the battle cannon, and then one Knight Errant, as I think it's called. So they are the 2 Imperial Knights. And then I have a detachment of Grey Knights, which is kind of my newer army. I'm playing them as 2 squads of Grey Knight Terminators, and then I'm then playing a squad of Purifiers, and they're being led by, it's not going to be Caldor Drago, or it's going to be a Grey Knight Grandmaster who's been buffed up with mastery levels, and he's also actually going to be carrying a Psy Cannon for good measure. We've then got a Dread Knight in the back, fully tooled up with Incinerator, Heavy Psy Cannon, Nemesis Greatsword, and the Teleporter. We've got a Dreadnought, which in the old rulebook would have had Psybolt ammunition, but now he's just got 2 twin-linked auto cannons. And then we then have a supporting Storm Raven for good measure. So that's my army, 10,014 points to be absolutely exact. Been collecting this over the last 3 years, so really, we've both been looking forward to this, haven't we, John?
Oh, yeah.
Just getting both of these armies out, and now I'm going to hand you over to John so he can take you through his absolutely phenomenal Eldar army.
Right, Eldar, Dark Eldar. There's rather a lot of them, as you can see, going right the way up the table there. 350 models, I think.
Wow.
So I'll just take you through it. They're in 6 detachments, and start with Dark Eldar Detachment 1, which is Cableites. So you've got, let's just find him, my Archon, who's leading a unit of Incubi with a Homunculus, and 4 units of Cableite Warriors, all in Raiders, and 2 units of Cableite on foot, 1 unit of Trueborn with Dark Lancers, and a unit of 4 Incubi in a Venom. There are 2 Ravagers, and a Razor Wing proxying as a Void Raven, and just at the back there is a unit of 10 Hellions and a unit of 10 Scourges. So rather lovely models there, if completely useless. Dark Eldar Detachment 2 is a Witch Cult. It's led by the rather wonderful Lilith there. Again, a retinue of 8 Incubi and a Homunculus. You've got 2 units of Witches with in Raiders, fully tooled up. 1 is Hecatrix Bloodblights, and you've got, whoops a daisy, lost control of the zoom. You've got 3 Venoms, each with 5 Witches with Haywire Grenades in, and at the back here you've got 2 units of Jet Bikes, each 6 bikes with 2 blasters in each, and the Razor Wing proxying as a Void Raven again, and a couple of Ravagers as well. Ravager 1 and Ravager 2. So that is all the Dark Eldar.
One
Pretty
fast
brutal.
army.
On the subject of fast armies, we have Sam Hain. So Sam Hain's led by a warlock on a jet bike, who's there, who will be using telepathy. He's got invisibility, which is brutal. You've got two, as well as the 9 jet bikes, you've got 2 wave serpents with 5 dire avengers in each, 2 fire prisms, 2 vipers with shuriken catapults, and a unit of 10 warp spiders. So that's the fast bit of Sam Hain. Rather unfluffy, there's a slow bit of Sam Hain. So you've got Farseer there, and he's leading 3 units of Guardians with Bright Lancers, War Walkers with magnetized EMLs on there, and 2 Wraith Knights, so one with the standard D cannons and one with a Sun Cannon and Scatter Shield. So that is Sam Hain. And then we have Oathway. So let's just zoom out so you can see all the Oathway. So again, 2 detachments. Detachment 1 is led by an Autarch. He hasn't got the mantle on, that's just a flowing cloak. And he has a unit of 10 Dire Avengers in a Wave Serpent, a unit of 5 Dire Avengers in a Falcon, and 2 units of 8 Fire Dragons, again in Wave Serpents, Night Spinner, Artillery Tank, and a Crimson Hunter with Exarch upgrade. So they should be fairly good.
I have to say, John, I love the look of that fighter. It's Firefox all over.
It is Firefox basically. My understanding is that wouldn't fly. The aerodynamics are terrible. Okay, final Oathway detachment is a Wraithseer. Haven't used him before, so see how he works. Wraithguard with the template weapons, Distortion, I can't remember what they're called. And they're sitting in another Wave Serpent, which makes it a 6 Wave Serpent army. Another Wraith Knight, again with D cannons. So 5 Rangers, 3 units of each. And finally some Dark Reapers. Right, we've just finished deployment, so take you through the disposition of forces. As you can see, Eldar heavily deployed on the left hand side of their line, and I don't know if you'll be able to see from here, but very, very densely deployed on the right hand side of the line with a large area blank in the centre. The Imperials, on the other hand, have refused one flank, with this area over here on their right hand side completely empty, and they've deployed heavily in the centre and on their left. So I'll just quickly take you through the deployment. So gosh, your whole mishmash of units across here with fire prisms and heavy support, a lot of light fast units that can go forward quickly to take the left flank. All the Ravagers are concentrated in the centre, 2 of the Wraith Knights, and a lot of basically heavy anti-tank firepower. So this is the right hand flank. As you can see, very dense disposition of Eldar forces over here. Only 1 of the Wraith Knights, massive concentration of Dark Eldar. They have the move through cover rule from the Warlord trait I rolled up for the Archon. So they're going to find it very easily to get through these ruins and have stealth in them. We also have infiltrators with the Rangers moving forward. Let me just zoom out so you can spot them. There they are in the centre. Facing up, they've got both the Imperial Knights who took position here in heavy cover. There's one, and the second one's there. But the actual amount of Imperial forces deployed are quite light, mostly Devastators and Green Wing armour, Raven Wing in reserve, Grey Knights largely in reserve, Terminators from First Company also in reserve. So Steve keeping his cards very close to his chest. It's worked very well for him before, so we'll see what happens this time. Right, end of Eldar turn 1. So as you can see from the smoke markers, there's been some effective shooting, but there's not an awful lot of Imperial stuff on the board to actually knock out. So what has happened is down here, we've pretty much held on this objective, swarming around it but not advancing too far because there's too much stuff coming from reserve. Move forward towards the Imperial centre here with the Wraith Knight and the Ravagers jumping forward. That Land Raider is now immobilised and has 2 hull points. There's a Rhino being knocked out, and a Razorback knocked out, and another Razorback knocked out over there. An artillery shot has hit that Vindicator in the backfield, and we've got some damage on a Rhino here, which may impact that Predator's ability to move.
It's a lucky Vindicator shot. Scatter.
Both of the Imperial Knights have taken hits, but only 1 hit each, so they're still very much in the game. Okay, so it's the end of turn 1. I'll take you through the battlefield just so you can see what happened. So I'll take you through this nearest flank first. It's entirely dominated by the Eldar. No Imperial presence at all in this third of the table. So the Eldar have moved up a bit. Holding off because there's so much in Imperial reserves. Don't want to get too committed too far forward and then get hit by a massive inflow of Raven Wing or whatever else is going to come out. In the centre of the battlefield, again moving forward but holding around that central hill, so objective very firmly in Eldar hands. No casualties here at all. Imperial shooting in their turn 1 was pretty abysmal. Statistically improbable would be how I would describe it, with virtually no hits. Only 1 vehicle has been destroyed, and that is over in the city area, which when you compare it with the Imperial experience has been slightly different. 3 vehicles burning there. What the Imperium did have was a pretty accurate drop of Terminator squads into the centre, but they were largely ineffective. A couple of hull points, a few stunned results, but not much else. Infantry have bailed out and are forming a firing line based around this line of rocks and moving to capture that far hill near the city section. And near the city section, a Dreadnought has dropped down, Contemptor, with twin las cannons, and he's heading into the city to try and roll at the flank. He attempted to gauge that Wave Serpent, but Jink saved the Wave Serpent. In the city, it's been carnage. So this Vindicator, which is hiding at the back here, took a lucky artillery scatter and took a hull point, so its best efforts to stay alive has been hampered by that, and it's stunned, so it won't be able to shoot next turn. The Imperial Knights have surged forward, well, moved forward, I wouldn't describe it as a surge, and Grey Knights have dropped in, and they're using that new formation now, which lets them fire and then run. So they use that opportunity to fire, pull back a bit and scatter out a bit so that my template weapons can't affect them as much. Dread Knight came in, poured fire over those 3 vehicles in front there, killed an awful lot of the occupants but left the vehicles largely untouched. So that central raider's got the Soul Blaze rule on it, and that just ate 3 more people. So there's every opportunity that one shot will slowly eat the occupants of that raider and kill them all before they actually make it to battle, which is well, kind of hilarious, not hilarious for them. I think the shock of the turn was at the back here. 10 Melter Vets with a Librarian dropped in, which is a hell of a commitment. And they all engaged that Wraith Knight. Clear shot, no cover, 1 wound, which is, I'm not sure what the statistics on that is, but it's pretty damn horrendous. I think it's been indicative of the Imperial turn. It has not gone well for them in terms of the odds of shooting. So quite unfortunate. So a disappointing first turn for the Imperial side, and partly that reflects the fact that most of them are in reserve. It's a pretty scant force that's out there, and they're going to need some pretty good reserve rolls to make sure that they all arrive in turn 2. When they do get here, it'll turn, I think, quite decidedly against the Eldar. But right now, they're hanging on and hoping that Eldar turn 2 shooting is not horrific. So let's see what turn 2 brings them. Right then, it's the end of Eldar turn 2. They've moved slightly up in this section of the board nearest to us. Just slowly huddling behind the train and moving up on that objective, but not too close because there's still a lot of Imperial reinforcements that could potentially come on from that table edge and cause havoc. So still being quite cautious. Bit of rearrangement in the centre, and pull back a little bit against that influx of Terminators. Now, as you can see, the Terminators have been whittled down. So Sun Cannon hit Belial's unit in the centre there, so the standard is no more, and 3 of the other Terminators are no more. But he saved about 12 saves from the Sun Cannon, which was pretty amazing. Feel No Pain helping him out there. The Terminator unit to his right got hit by an awful lot of splinter cannon fire and basically shredded. This Predator here has also blown up to the line of burning vehicles in the Imperial centre, but the infantry are still largely intact behind the barrier of wrecks and broken terrain. Scourges have dropped in just behind the Vindicator, put 1 hull point on it. So my prediction for next turn is that Vindicator is going to turn round and drop a massive pie plate on them and kill them to a man. So that unit is probably gone. To their right, those Marines in the centre have had a tough time of it. Dark Reaper has taken 5 out with Reaper launchers. Furthermore, to the right, that Dreadnought is gone. Warp Spider's dropping in behind him and killing it with one of filament. Eldar turn 2, the city area. Both the Imperial Knights have taken a bit of a hammering. The one on the right now has 3 hull points from Lancefire. Witches charged the Imperial Knight on the left there and put 2 haywire grenades on it in hand-to-hand combat before being stomped to death, unfortunately. I was hoping they would hold. The Dread Knight succumbed to massive poison fire and he's gone. And the only other area of really heavy Imperial casualties was on the drop pod squad, but there at the back. One squad is pretty unaffected, but only is it Ezekiel survived from the other squad. They were killed to a man. So apart from that, not much happening. The Devastator squad here is now completely gone. Last man killed. But these units at the back here are still sitting there safe in their rhinos, unaffected. And the Grey Knights are moving cautiously forward. One casualty only so far. Wraith Guard just up ahead of them in that building. They've got Protect on, so they're armor 2, and they're shrouded as well, thanks to that Warlock. Pretty successful psychic phase there. And they forgot to shoot. Just realised that now, we forgot to use them. They were going to take out those Marines. I mean, the Marines got killed anyway, so we'll call it a win. And that is it for Eldar turn 2. So productive, but not as crushing as it might have been. Still a lot of Imperial units intact. End of Imperial turn 2, and the board's starting to look a bit fuller as reserves have come on. So the entire Raven wing, well, big chunk of it, has come on in this first table third. So that is 3 separate squadrons, I suppose. 6 bikes have come on, and the command squad, 2 flyers come in. They've basically caused a wave serpent to jink here down here, and that fire prism has lost its main gun, so it's pretty much useless now. Apart from that, the damage hasn't been too bad. The jet bike unit in the centre is also jinking. Across in the middle, more Terminators have deep struck in, and the other ones have advanced forward. That Wraith Knight has now taken 4 wounds, which is quite worrying. And there's been a smattering of damage across the other vehicles, but again, apart from that, not too bad. The Scourgers that had jumped in at the back of that area there have been totally wiped out. The command squad hit them with about 10 plasma shots and they evaporated. 3 different speeders there, they've done most of the damage to the Wraith Knight. So let's say the Imperial Knights have literally stomped forward. So they've taken out 2 wave serpents. The one on the right there is standing on top of his conquest, having completely wrecked it. They're both quite heavily damaged now, but they're causing a lot of carnage. Other eventful moves this turn. The Archon's radar was destroyed, and a good chunk of the unit, they're all out in the open there. So they've taken some fairly vicious hits. The Wraith Guard, in here you can just see him behind the smoke, lost 1 guy to a stomp forward from the Wraith Knight, but the extra armour and the shrouded from the psychic phase have helped them out enormously. So back here, 1 unit of Cablite have been completely wiped out by the veterans, who have now retreated back behind a wall. And the Wave Serpent got blown up to by Las Fire. So that's what Wave Serpent, the Wraith Knights. That's the first of the 3 Wraith Knights to actually go down. Back here, there's a drop pod come in, and a squad of Marines have got out, and they've killed about half of those Guardians. So that objective is now threatened. So that's a huge concern. So between them on one side and the Imperial Knight coming in on the other, there's a lot to be concerned about in this area. That said, there's a lot of assets in there that can be mobilised to help with that. And the Grey Knights in the centre are really surging forward. They got Vortex off in the psychic phase, which was quite exciting, but fortunately it missed its target, otherwise that would have been quite devastating. And the Vindicator has finally got out there and done some damage.
No, I didn't do
I thought the Vindicator did do some damage. I thought it hit something. The plasma battery didn't hit anything on this rather gorgeous. What's this model called? The plasma speeder? Vengeance speeder. Absolutely gorgeous model. Not very effective in the game. Right then, end of Eldar turn 3. A lot of reserves came on, so all the aircraft and the remaining unit of jet bikes. So you can see the 2 Void Raven proxies there, and up front here we have the Crimson Hunter. Weren't very effective, managed to get 2 hull points onto this first aircraft here and 1 on the other, but they are both jinking. So that's pretty good, though I imagine the Storm Raven's going to come on next turn and probably claim at least one of my aircraft, because that thing's vicious. So engaged the Raven Wing down here, caused some casualties. So 1 unit got wiped out, it was only a combat squad, and the command squad's taken a few casualties, but still largely intact, and probably going to cause a lot more damage to the front of my line now. In the centre, the Terminators have taken quite a heavy beating, and it's a moot point as to whether or not they can actually make it to that tree line now. If they do get there, there's an awful lot waiting for them, so it might be a long slog to death if they go across there. But that said, the Dark Angel central objective is very firmly held, so I don't think there's much chance that the Eldar will be breaking into it. Though there is a sneaky unit of warp spiders at the back there, which are going to do their assault move now and move across into the Dark Angels area. Now I'll just move it across to the city area. The city area is different in 2 very remarkable ways. One, both the Imperial Knights are gone. Went off in titanic explosions, taking out the units of witches which attacked them. Each were big units of about 10 witches, so they cost about 150 points, so they took a hell of a lot of points with them. And they also managed to wreck a raider as well in the explosion. So that was quite painful, but the Grey Knights, who are right beside the other explosion, have largely been unaffected. I think they lost 1 man in it. Down here, the veteran squad has been driven down to basically just Ezekiel and 2 guys. The Incubi and the Archeon are getting stuck in there. There's a challenge going on, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes out. And the squad that got drop podded into the Eldar objective have largely been eliminated. Unit of Incubi got stuck into them, and they got hit by jet bikes coming on from reserve. Apart from that, not an awful lot of casualties on the Imperial side. 1 Devastator squad in the central building knocked out by the Wraith Guard with their flamer weapons. And that is it for this turn. Imperials only have 1 reserve to come on now. In looking at an interesting position. I'm not quite sure if they can get forward and take an objective, but also not quite sure if the Eldar can break their line and get to an objective either. So this might be a stalemate. Right, end of turn 3 for the Imperials. Unfortunately, end of the game because we've timed out. Played a little slowly, was just getting used to playing on a game this scale. But it's been really good, and we'll definitely do it again. So, in turn 3, what's happened? This boy happened. Storm Raven came on and hit the Crimson Hunter quite hard. Didn't do much else. So the Crimson Hunter is jinking and has taken a stunned result. Raven Wing have taken out the Hellions there, and have taken out the Dire Avengers and also destroyed that Wave Serpent. Should have a smoke marker on it. And but they're looking quite weak in this area, and they don't look like they can really threaten this objective in a meaningful way. That's how Banner of Devastation is still going. So who knows? Up towards the centre, no meaningful damage really inflicted. No vehicles knocked out. The what do you call those guys in the centre? The
Deathwing Knights.
The Deathwing Knights are still making their way forward, but I think they're doomed. They're walking straight towards Venom, so they're probably going to get shot to hell. The rest of the Terminators have moved backwards and retreated back into the line, so the Imperial side definitely decided to hold this line here. The Warp Spiders have tried to penetrate in, but got a bit of a mauling from plasma shots from the command squad. So I don't think they're going to remain effective. They can maybe knock out some light armour, but that's it. And the speeders have been largely ineffective in terms of putting shots onto the Wraith Knights. Right, and in the city, quite a useful psychic phase for the Grey Knights. They managed to get a vortex off, which hit Lelith's transport in the centre there. And basically the thrust of raiders that were going up the centre has been all trashed. And a lot of the infantry being killed, bolter fire, plasma fire, everything's hit that area, and the assault there has been blunted. They've also assaulted into the Wraith Guard that were moving across here. So they took out one Terminator with their wall of flame, but there's now a Dreadnought getting stuck into them, and I don't think they're going to survive long against that. Vindicator put some shots in, wasn't that effective. The assault, the drop pod assault over here is pretty much gone. There's one guy left, he'll get mopped up next turn, if there was next turn. And Ezekiel is the lone survivor from this drop pod here. There's an Archon and 4 Incubi on him, so he's probably doomed. So all in all, things turning into a bit of a stalemate in the city. With very much the Eldar holding a line across here, and the Grey Knights and what lifts of the Dark Angels holding a line across here. I'm not sure if either side has it in them to actually break through. So we think this is probably going to turn to a stalemate, as will the rest of the board. I think we're looking at both sides holding on to their objectives. So we decided to call it an honourable draw there.